All right. All right. I don't I don't think the sky's falling. I think we're fine. I think it's just really annoying when you have a team like the Phillies who have, I don't know, like five guys making $20 million this year, and you lose two out of three to the Pirates who stink, who suck, who are not a good baseball team, and you show up and you look flat. You should have gotten swept, but thank God Kyle Schwarber exists because it easily could have been a sweep. And it's just ridiculous that we're even at this point right now. But, originally, it's a beautiful week outside. I have off today from work, which is why this episode's coming at you now. I was going to like set up a little area outside, like a nice blanket, like a lawn chair, nice. No, the Phillies had to go and ruin that. So you can thank the Phillies for ruining that perfectly pleasing aesthetic. Speaking of aesthetic, if you can't tell, a new set piece. I might bring it down a little bit, but I just kind of smorgasbord together here. It's a Philly Fanatic, and a certain soda company is on the bottom of that, which is why there's a Phillies blanket on it now. No free ads unless certain soda product company. If you wanna, send some dollar bills to Dollar Phillies, it'd be great. It'd be super. But yeah, I actually got this from work. They were throwing it out, and I said, "Well, pump the brakes, Buster. Give it to Daddy." And yeah, so now I have a Philly Fanatic. And there's a lot going on in the background, but I kind of like it. One thing about podcasts is you always want something to be aesthetically pleasing, which is why I hate like so much of like my older stuff is because it was just me and just this in the background. So I want to try to make it more, eye catching and eye popping and do like some cool stuff have in the background. And I hope to be creating a new set soon. I just need to make a couple purchases, do some maneuvering around my household because yes, I still live with my parents because living on your own is scary and expensive, and I don't have that kind of financial flexibility. So I am working out creating a new space for this. So there might be some changes soon, or it might be in the off season like I did this year. So I really don't know, but we got a lot to cover. The reason there wasn't an episode, excuse me, after the Baltimore series, I was away. Ashlyn and her family are moving soon, so I've been busy helping them up there, which is why this episode's coming at you now. That's what I was doing over the weekend as well. So in this episode, I'm going to go over briefly the Baltimore series. We're going to talk about the Pittsburgh series. We got headlines. And then we have some keynotes I took away from the series and kind of some things I think need to be addressed and talked about a little bit in depth. Another episode of the most garbage show on the internet, which is Where Are They Now? We're running out. There's only a few guys left, and like half of them are on the Phillies currently. So I got to figure out a new bit. I might look at like older lineups at like certain points in the previous years, like 2014, where's that team now? And I don't know, something like that. I'll figure something out. But we have that, and then there are the trade deadlines tomorrow. I have a list of a few guys here that I would love to see. I had a longer list, but a couple of those guys got traded last night, so thank God I didn't record because I would have looked like an idiot. Um, and then we are closing it out with the series preview against the Miami Marlins, which boy golly gee, am I looking forward to that? I texted some people and I said, the Phillies stretch run here of like 14 games or whatever against like bad teams. And I said they're going to win one of three in Pittsburgh. They're going to win three of four in Miami. They're going to get swept by the Royals and then sweep the Nationals. I don't, it's too easy. You know that LeBron thing is too easy. That's what's happening right now is me watching this baseball team currently. So, let's get into headlines. First headline is Noah Song, the Phillies Rule 5 pick, has been designated for assignment. The Phillies have until Tuesday to trade him, and if they are unable to, he will be shipped back to the Red Sox for $50,000. It just didn't work out with Noah Song. They hoped that they'd be getting more out of him, and it's one of those things. Like, it was a cool story. It was a cool experiment. It could have been a fleece, but it just didn't work out timing wise, which is just unfortunate. So look for his name to be involved in any trades tomorrow, or he will be shipped back to the Red Sox following the trade deadline. So the Noah Song dream is now officially closed. I just want to give a congratulations to Bryson Stott and his fiance Drew. They announced over the weekend that they are expecting a baby girl. So congratulations to Drew and Bryson on their baby girl. That's awesome to see. I released a TikTok about it because let's be honest, let's call a spade a spade. Bryson Stott, he's hot. He's a hot dude. I'm not afraid to say that about people. I'm a very open person. We're getting way off track here, but congratulations to them. That dad strength in the playoffs is going to come in handy. Alvarado is throwing a bullpen today. They're going to see how he feels. If he feels good, they're going to send him on a rehab assignment. We need him back desperately, especially with the struggling Seranthony. We'll talk about him later in the episode, but it's been rough without Alvarado. But I think the Phillies and their development guys, especially, really at the major league level with Caleb Cotham and even their minor league system, have done a really good job of subsidizing those big dudes with, the Martes of the world, Hoffman, Bilotti last year, Vasquez, like these guys who were kind of journeymen, have stuff, but didn't really know what to do with it, and have stepped up massively. Like we saw it with Hoffman last year, and I've talked about Hoffman in extent. Marte, since being recalled in June, has like a 2.2 ERA, so he's been really, really good. Vasquez has been shaky of recent. Yes, I know he gave up the walk-off home run last year, but yesterday, but he's been more good than bad. Bilotti has not been good this year. I don't know if that's injury related. I don't know if he's just taking a massive step back. Even I hate to say it, but even Dylan Covey, they've gotten something out of Covey. Like, he has like a 2-something ERA in July, mind you, in like 5 games, but he's been fine. I don't know. I don't know what the hell they see in Dylan Covey, but they need Alvarado back sooner rather than later. Andrew Painter over the week underwent successful Tommy John surgery, so he will miss all of next year and probably half of the 2025 season. And, it sucks, but you also got to remember that Andrew Painter is only 22 years old by the time he comes back from that surgery. So it's not like he's like 26 and this is the prime of his career right now and he's getting the surgery. Like, Andrew Painter still hopefully has a very, very long and successful career with the Phillies coming up. So I hope all went well there. And you got to think with Tommy John surgery, back even in 2010, it was way more invasive than it is now. It's not as much of a death sentence to a pitcher than it is now. I mean, I say that and look at guys like Noah Syndergaard who relied on velocity, but also much older than Andrew Painter. So I think he's going to be fine. I think, pitchers get Tommy John all the time. You look at guys like Walker Buehler, who actually underwent a second Tommy John, but I mean, he was fine. Aaron Nola never got it. Thinking of guys. Steven Strasburg, before he just signed that deal and said, see ya, underwent Tommy John and was fine. So I have a lot of faith in Andrew Painter. I think he's going to be fine. I think this Phillies medical staff is incredible, and they're going to set him on the right path. And more positive news, Rhys Hoskins was spotted doing some running drills with the team, and Rob Thompson said it's not out of the realm of possibility to have him back for the postseason. Now, if he is back for the postseason, he's probably just going to be the DH, which means that you're going to have to play Schwarber in left and Harper at first, and then Hoskins can be your DH. So maybe that could be a spark for them, or he doesn't come back. I'm not holding my breath that he is going to come back this season at all. So, I'm not expecting a Rhys Hoskins return this season, unfortunately, but I wasn't expecting one to begin with, so I'm not getting my hopes up. It'd be really cool and really awesome to see him back, but again, I'm not holding my breath for that, especially if, you go out and get another left fielder. I don't see a spot for him unless you get rid of God, if he's still on this team by then, I'm going to lose it. If you get rid of Josh Harrison, that opens up a spot. You might want to get, I don't know. I don't know what the Phillies' plans are, but Hoskins could possibly return. I also wanted to say, before we get into the quick overview of the Baltimore series, I just recently read Todd Zalecki's book about Roy Halladay, titled Doc. I just finished that. It was an incredible book. I finished it in really I could have finished it in a few days, but it was a couple of weeks because, busy with, work and stuff. But it was really, really good. It gave a great insight into the mindset of a pitcher, especially a guy like Roy Halladay, who is widely regarded as one of the greatest pitchers of all time. At least he's the greatest pitcher that I've ever seen with my own two eyes, as a Phillies fan. And it talks about his struggles with mental health, like his demotion to Dunedin when he was a rookie, to A-ball, fixing his mechanics, working with, the mental ABCs of pitching, and how that book kind of revolutionized him, and even talks about his post-playing career, how he was a mental advisor to the Phillies. They had interviews with guys like Zach Eflin, with Kyle Kendrick, with kind of the young guys like even Jared Eichhoff. They had an interview with him talking about how Doc was kind of guiding him through the mental struggles because, at that time, Eflin and Eichhoff both weren't really established major leaguers, and Eichhoff still really isn't, unfortunately, but Eflin is. Obviously, he signed that deal with the Rays, so it was really, really good. It was a great read. I would highly recommend it, checking it out, and it's just so crazy because something that stood out to me was he was talking about Carlos Ruiz. He was talking about Chooch when he came to Philly, when Halladay's worked with so many catchers, and his game plan on the mound was always, this is the game plan. This is what we're calling. Don't switch it up. Obviously, if the catcher saw something, they change it. But, those guys, the catchers are like, oh my God, this is Roy Halladay. Like, we're going to listen to him and we're going to do exactly what he wants us to do. And with Chooch, it was different. For whatever reason, Halladay and Chooch connected immediately. Halladay said he's never felt like that with any catcher before, where, they'd have their game plan, but say they get to the 5th, 6th, 7th inning and Chooch sees something, say, if a certain batter's sitting on the changeup, he spreads out a little bit, crouches down, chokes up a little bit, like it's subtle. If Chooch sees that, he'll lay down like a cutter, and Halladay would be like, yes, okay, I trust you to do that, which I thought was really, really cool. Like, the fact that Ruiz was so underrated, and I feel like in the grand scheme of baseball, like not a lot of people remember who Carlos Ruiz is, but he's one of the best, man. And if Halladay is saying that about him, I mean, what's that tell you? But that was that. Excuse me. All right, let's get over to the Baltimore series real quick. The Phillies took 2 out of 3 from the Baltimore Orioles. So Aiden, haha. They lost the first game because of a stupid decision by Rob Thompson, and we'll talk about stupid decisions made by Rob Thompson when we talk about the Pittsburgh series. He left Schwarber in the left field. He left Schwarber in left field in the ninth, and then he botched that ball that led to the winning run scoring. But I mean, everyone's like, "Oh, you got to keep Schwarber's bat in the lineup." No, you don't. When the guy you would be replacing him with, and Brandon Marsh, has a higher OPS than him. So I don't know. But then they came back and won 4-3 in extra, or not extras, in the bottom of the ninth. My player of the game was Bryson Stott. He had that clutch double that scored Harper in the ninth inning against Cano. And then you had Alec Bohm with the RBI single, and JT did his best job to ruin that, but luckily, uh, Alec Bohm picked him up, and the shortstop, I think it was Mateo, bobbled it and allowed JT to get the first on that. But Bryson Stott is just, I think, the most clutch player on the Phillies. I think he loves the big moment. It reminds me a lot of Utley. Not the same player. I'm not comparing Bryson Stott to Chase Utley. I'm saying the clutch factor of no moment's too big for Bryson Stott. I feel like he always comes up with the clutch hit. And I'm so excited to see what Stott looks like in the future as a major leaguer, because I think he's going to be a top 10 second baseman in a year. I even think he is one now. But that's just my opinion. Call me biased all you want. And then game 3, they won 6-4. My player of the game was Rake Cave. Had himself a day, had that great catch, had a couple hits. Like, Jake Cave is the best quadruple A player we've ever had on the Phillies. And we sat through, God, who was another one? Scott Kingery, I guess. Scotty Jetpacks. Come back. All right, let's get to Pittsburgh, because I hate the Phillies right now. The reason I wanted to record this now was because I wanted to attack this at not a feeling of hatred or a feeling of blind rage towards this team. I wanted to kind of take a moment, take a breath, kind of really sit back and look at the issues, dive into the numbers a little bit. And I came up with nothing. I came up with 2 big factors about why this team stinks right now, but we will talk about them when we talk about our keynotes of this series. So, game 1, they won 2-1. My player of the game was Zach Wheeler. And, Wheeler only got pulled because of a rain delay. I mean, he was cruising 6 2/3, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 11 strikeouts. That is filth. That is Zach Wheeler. That's not Zach Wheeler. That is Zach Wheeler. That's the guy we're paying X amount of money to. That's the ace of this team. And he's just been so good. He's just been so freaking good in his past 3 starts. I think that All-Star break, he needed that, because ever since then, that fastball has that zip to it again. He's hitting 97, 98 again. It just feels like he's back to being Zach Wheeler. And obviously the strikeouts say that. I mean, 11 strikeouts. He was cruising, it was just awesome to see. The Phillies got the scoring started with Kyle Schwarber hit a 2-run home run. And then the Phillies left them loaded in the 4th. And I always say, no way stranding the bases loaded could come back to bite him. Boy, golly, did it. G-Man Choi had an RBI double in the 4th to make it 2-1. And then to finish out the pitching, you had Hoffman come in the 7th after the 45-minute rain delay. 2/3 of an inning, a hit, no earned runs, no walk, 2 strikeouts. Gregory Soto, I don't know what's going on with him. In the second half, he's just been brutal. I feel like he gives up 2 hits every single outing, but somehow gets out of it, or gives up the big hit, or just is very unclutch. And we kind of need him to not suck right now, especially in the absence of Alvarado and with Seranthony struggling. I mean, you're the next guy up. Kimbrel's the 9th inning guy. That's plain and simple. And if you can't do that, who the hell are you going to throw out there? I guess Marte. He's been solid. That's it, really. I mean, come on, step up, dude. And then Craig Kimbrel, 1 inning, pitched 9th to 1 walk and a strikeout. So solid game all around. I was a little nervous in that 8th inning with Soto, but he was able to get Reynolds to ground to that double play. And, It was a good game, solid game, and it was the only solid game because then we get to game two. And game two was kind of where everything changed. The biggest change was Trey Turner moved from the 2 hole to the 7th hole. And I think he needs to stay there for the foreseeable future. And I think every Philly fan agrees because Turner's been brutal. I have his numbers up. We'll talk about that soon and talk about another guy who's in his place at the 2 hole who shouldn't be. But the scoring got started with a typical my player of shame was Aaron Nola because, Yoveri Peguero, solo home run, and then Marsh had a bases clearing double in the 4th, and Cave followed that up with an RBI double to make it 4-1. Aaron Nola, we got you a lead. Boy, what could possibly go wrong when you give Aaron Nola a lead in 2023? Forgot what year it was for a second. The sky comes falling down because Endy Rodriguez RBI double in the 4th, and Peguero again with an RBI double in the 4th. Gave it right back to him, allowed them to come right back into this game because that's what Aaron Nola does. Aaron Nola can have a 15-run lead and he will somehow make it a 12-15 ball game. I don't understand what the hell his deal is this year. And I've said it once and I'll say it again. I am not signing him next year. Have fun in Baltimore. Have fun in Cincinnati because I am not touching him with a 50-foot pole because he has been terrible this year. He's been a guy that I would much rather see Chris Sanchez out there than Aaron Nola. I would much rather see Bailey Falter starting baseball games for the Phillies right now than Aaron Nola because that's how bad he's been. Pretty much interchangeable. Nola's ERA is almost at a 5. Like, get the hell out of here, dude. Like, you cost yourself so much money because you're a choke artist. I was shocked he got through the 2022 postseason because all Aaron Nola does is crap the bed. Almost caught me there. All he does is crap the bed, and it's just terrible. I mean, you get to the 5th, you have the bases loaded, and Marsh, yes, he made a terrible play, a terrible read, shouldn't have charged in on that ball. Allowed the bases to clear to make it 6-4 Pittsburgh, and then Alika Williams RBI single to make it 7-4. And then it's like, are you kidding me? You had a 4-1 lead against a terrible Pittsburgh team, and you crap the bed again, Aaron Nola, because that's all you do. That's all you know how to do is crap the bed. When we need you most, you leave the ball up. You feel like you have to be perfect. And yes, the umpire wasn't fantastic, but Jesus Christ, you are a Major League Baseball pitcher. You need to hunker down and figure it out. I can't stand watching this guy pitch anymore because he sucks. He's not a good pitcher this year. And he hasn't been. He's had 2 good years, maybe. 1 solid, obviously, finished 3rd in the Cy Young. And I guess 2022. But outside of that, he's been brutal. He's been brutal. And then we get to the 6th inning. Bases loaded, no outs. Against, again, a terrible Pirates team. And you get 1 run on a Kyle Schwarber walk. That's it. That's all you get. Like, not a fly ball. Not a, can't work another count. Just 1 run. And then you had Yohan Rojas, who's just the spark plug. I think that's what Ski called him. Said he's the spark plug. Had an RBI single in the 8th against David Bednar to make it 7-6. You have 1st and 3rd, 1 out against the guy who's on the ropes. Bednar is a fantastic pitcher. Might be a trade piece for somebody, but 2 straight strikeouts. Like, are we serious right now? 2 straight strikeouts against I get Bednar is a fantastic pitcher, but Jesus, your 22-year-old outfielder squared up a ball and got a base hit. Put some bat on the ball. Make the defense make a play. You can't even do that. You strike out twice. And then, this was the creme de la creme of it all. We get to the 9th inning. 1st and 3rd, 1 out again. All JT Realmuto has to do is just take a pitch. It's a 3-1 count. Bednar's giving you nothing to hit because you have Trey Turner on deck. 3-1 pitch. Outside, rolls over for a double play. Ends the game. Like, are we serious right now? Speaking of guys who need, JT needs to be put on the Phantom IL sooner rather than later I think he needs a week off because you can't keep expecting him to perform at the level like he did last year and the year before that when he's caught more than 300 innings, more than the next catcher. And that's not including the playoffs, not including the WBC, not including spring training. Like, this guy is exhausted. I don't care who you are. I think JT needs to hit the shelf for 15 days, give him a couple weeks off, call up Marchand, you know, let Stubby take the reins a little bit. Yeah, your offense is going to take a hit. But if those 2 weeks you just let JT rest, I think in the long term, in the long run, in September and October, that's going to prove dividends because I think he's going to feel relaxed. I think he's going to hit for more average, a little more power. His defense even has looked shaky at times this year. I think a Phantom IL stint for JT might be the smartest move for them to try to get him back on track. Because he's exhausted. And, I can't dock him because the Phillies are working him like a horse. I just think he needs a rest right now. So I just think they need to do that sooner rather than later. In this game, you went 3 for 12 with runners in scoring position. And, it sounds like a broken record here, but the runners in scoring position has been an issue all year. It hasn't been just this series. They're the most unclutched team filled with guys with Turner, Schwarber, Harper, Castellanos. Bohm has been clutch. Stott has been clutch. March has been clutch. And then you get, whatever production out of, the Pache, Rojas, Cave, whoever you're throwing out there. I feel like I trust Alec Bohm and Bryson Stott and Brandon Marsh and Jake Cave more than I do the Harper, the Schwarber, the Turner, the Casty, the Real Mutos. I don't know why, but the lineup, we'll talk about the lineup soon, but it's infuriating. And then the pitching side, Nola, 4 2/3, 9 hits, 5 earned runs, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts. Another Nola masterclass. Marte, an inning, a hit, no earned runs, no walks, and a strikeout. You have Matt Strahm pick up 2 innings and a strikeout. Then Dylan Covey in the 8th inning, an inning, 1 hit, no earned runs, no walks, and a strikeout. So, yeah. And then we get to yesterday's game. Phillies lose at 6-4 and 10. My player of shame, more so manager of shame, is Rob Thompson. Rob Thompson took out Christopher Sanchez after 5 no-hit innings, and I know he said he had a stomach bug. Let him go out for the 6th. I don't care how you're feeling. Have some ginger ale. Take some Pepto, for God's sakes. If that was so bad, then why is he starting this game? I don't know. It was infuriating. But, you leave a couple in the first. Then you have Alec Bohm against the 55-year-old Rich Hill with 2-run home run in the 4th. And then we get 1st and 3rd again, no outs in the 4th. And guess how many runs came across? 0. 0 runs came across when you have 1st and 3rd, nobody out. Nobody can even hit a ground ball. They were giving you a run. They couldn't hit a ground ball. You couldn't hit a fly ball. No, too hard for you guys. Oh, it's a getaway day, guys. Oh, darn. Can't. Oh, rats. And then, I think the most ironic thing, Sanchez gets pulled after 5 innings of no-hit ball and 78 pitches. I think the most hilarious thing is within like 5 pitches, the game was tied with Sir Anthony on a Brian Reynolds 2-run home run. You then had Hoffman come in, balls of steel on that guy. Dominguez only went a third of an inning, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, a walk, and a strikeout. And then Hoffman came in, 2 innings, a hit, no earned runs, no walks, 1 strikeout. Balls of steel from Trevor Hoffman. I love that guy. Never said a bad word about him. Actually, I haven't. You can check the tapes. Never said a bad word about Hoffman. And then Harper in the 7th. Harper and Bohm carried this game offensively. They were incredible in this game. They both had RBI singles in the 7th to give you a 4-2 lead. Against, again, a terrible Pirates team. And with your bullpen, with your guys, you think that would be enough. But then Sosa and Turner let a ball drop between them. And then that leads to Brian Reynolds with an RBI single to make it 4-3. And then in the 8th inning against against Marte, you had Nick Gonzalez with a sac fly to tie it up. What are we doing? What are we doing here? What in God's name are we doing? Like, are we serious? And then you get that. What whatever play that was in the 10th inning to get doubled off. Turner hit the fly ball. Turner did his job. Turner hit a fly ball. That's all you can ask for. Turner had a double. He looked a little better. Some bad luck with the umps, with the umpire, and it's that old adage, when it rains it pours. But you get to the 10th, Turner did his job. All you need from him is a fly ball. Turner did that, and then Bryce, I guess his brain shut off because he stopped running. But I forget who was on second at that time. Also was running to third. And Harper on the throw that the catcher made the second tried to score and it gets thrown out. And then on like the first pitch of the bottom of the 10th, Josh Palacios hits a 2-run walk-off home run and they win. Come on. What? Why are we doing this? The fact that the bullpen, in 5 innings gave up, 6 runs, not particularly good. Not particularly good for that. It was just annoying. Like they just kept coming back and coming back and coming back. And I'm talking about the Pirates at this point. Like it was just a frustrating series, but just swallow it, move on. Excuse me. I'm very thirsty right now. Swallow it, you move on. You're in Miami now. And everything great happens in Miami all the time, right? So some keynotes I came up with. Turner in the second half is hitting 211 with a 687 OPS. He's been brutal. He's had some bad luck, with balls just not getting down, with umpires being awful at their job. I don't know what you do with Trey Turner at this point. I would just keep him in the 7th spot. I guess because he's looked a little more comfortable down there. So I would just keep him down in the lineup in less stressful situations. And, I want to keep saying that a Turner hot streak is coming, but I'm done holding my breath for this guy this year. He's been brutal. How many times are you going to swing at a slider down and away? How many times are you going to take, a first pitch down the middle and then swing again at a slider down and away for strike 2? I mean, it's just been brutal with this guy. It's brutal. And then another guy that I don't know what to think of this guy. And the thought process behind putting him in the 2 spot is I couldn't tell you when you had a guy who has the most RBIs on your team needing the most at bats. Is Nick Castellanos. Nick Castellanos in the second half is hitting 117 with a 325 OPS in the second half. He looks like the 2022 Nick Castellanos, but I do trust him more this year to come out of it than I did last year because we've seen it. I think Casty just kind of needs to take a step back. I also think he should be batting like 5th. I liked him in the spot he was in. I think Bohm needs to be the one in the 2nd spot because he's been your best player so far. I think if you do Schwarber, Bohm, Harper, I guess Casty cleanup, and then go Stott 5. I would even go Marsh 6 and Turner 7, and then honestly Realmuto 8. Or if you want to do Realmuto 5 and then Stott 6, Turner 7, which would probably be what it is. But yeah, I mean, it's just been brutal. Just dumb, stupid baseball is all I could say. I think that's the name of the episode. It's just dumb, stupid baseball. It was brutal. It was a bad week of baseball. But now, just got to check something real quick. Give me 1 second. Sorry. Right. What am I looking for? I was looking up. Shout out to Dead Air. I literally forgot what I was God, my brain shut off a little bit. I gotta do the Immaculate Grid. But me and Matt Saporsky, it's our morning routine. And I've been on a heater recently of beating him. So I gotta continue that stretch. Anyway, another edition of where are they now? The worst show on the internet. I got some dudes in this one. I got some dudes. Guy in the 2020, two guys in the 2020 bullpen, and a guy who spent quite literally how many innings? 2 2/3, right? Yeah, 2 2/3 with the Phillies in 2019. So I got some dudes. My first guy was a guy who had no idea where the ball was going when it was released from his hand, the sidewinder. I, of course, am talking about Trevor Kelly. Now, Trevor Kelly was drafted by the Boston Red Sox in the 36th round of 2015 MLB draft. Profiles with a fastball, slider, and a changeup. Doesn't have the velocity like his fastball velo is 89 miles an hour. But I think the appeal to him was his arm slot, because he throws sidearm and hitters just forget how to hit when a guy's throwing sidearm. Made his major league debut July 2nd, 2019. He spent 2019 with the Red Sox, 10 games, 8 1/3 to an 8.64 ERA. And again, guy doesn't know where the ball's going when it's released, and when he tries to throw it down the middle, it gets mashed. So not a great time for Mr. Trevor Kelly. And then he was claimed off waivers by the Phillies in 2020. He made the opening day roster. 4 games, 3 1/3 to a 10.80 ERA. So that's not particularly good. He was designated for assignment in August of that year. And then in 2021, signed a minor league deal with the Cubs. He was released in April of 2021. He then signed a minor league deal with the Atlanta Braves. He spent the entire season in AAA. Actually had a really, really good season. 37 games, 41 1/3 to a 1.52 ERA. So really, really good for the Atlanta Braves. He then signed a minor league deal with the Milwaukee Brewers in 2022, split time between the majors and minors. In 34 games, 34 1/3 to a 2.36 ERA in the minors for Milwaukee. And then in the major league level, 18 games, 23 2/3 innings to a 6.08 ERA. He was designated for assignment in January of this year. He then was picked up on a minor league deal by the Tampa Bay Rays. 9 games, 13 1/3, 4.05 ERA, and is currently still in the Rays organization. However, is currently on the injured list. With an unknown injury. I was trying to find what his injury was, but I'm sure it's out there, but I'm just like stupid. So that's Trevor Kelly. My next guy was a guy who was at the top of my list for Phillies bullpen transactions, and then they got him, and he was atrocious, much like the entirety of the 2020 Phillies bullpen. This guy is actually recently, I say recently, but January of this year announced his retirement from Major League Baseball. That is, of course, David Phelps. David Phelps was drafted by the Yankees in the 14th round of the 2008 MLB draft, profiled as a starter, but obviously like 90% of starters or relievers in the major leagues are failed starters. Had a fastball, curve, cutter, changeup arsenal, made his major league debut April 8th, 2012 with the New York Yankees, a team which he spent the 2012 to 2014 seasons with. 87 games, 40 starts, 299 1/3 innings to a 4.21 ERA. And in the 2014 offseason, he was traded to the Miami Marlins. The trade was the Marlins got Martin Prado and David Phelps, and the Yankees got Nate Eovaldi, Garrett Jones, and Domingo Germán. Yes, that Domingo Germán. We won't talk about him. And then he spent 2014-2017 with the Miami Marlins, 131 games, 24 starts, 245 2/3 innings to a 3.52 ERA. He actually became a full-time reliever in 2016. And then at the trade deadline in 2017, David Phelps was traded to the Seattle Mariners. And it was a very lopsided trade, mostly because they way overpaid, I feel like, for David Phelps. Obviously, I don't know what the market was for relievers at this time, because you have to kind of go with what the going rate is on relievers. But Seattle got David Phelps, and Miami got Brian Hernandez, Brandon Miller, Pablo Lopez, and Lucas Schiraldi in that trade. And then with Seattle, He pitched 10 games, 8 2/3 to a 3.12 ERA. Injuries really derailed his career with the Seattle Mariners because in the offseason in 2018, he had to get Tommy John surgery, so he missed the entirety of the 2018 season. And most of the 2019 season, because in 2019 signed a free agent contract with the Toronto Blue Jays, and he wasn't active until June, and he was fine for the Blue Jays. 17 games, 1 start, 17 1/3, 3.63 ERA. He then was flipped at the deadline to the Cubs in a 1-for-1. The Cubs got David Phelps, and Toronto got minor leaguer Thomas Hatch. 24 games, 17 innings, 3.18 ERA. So not bad. It was pretty solid. Left in free agency to sign a 1-year deal in 2020 with the Milwaukee Brewers. 12 games, 13 innings to a 2.77 ERA. And this is why this guy was at the top of my list, because I'm like, oh man, 2.77 ERA, play in the Phillies bullpen. He'd be the best Phillies reliever. And then, the Phillies did do that. They went out and got David Phelps at the 2020 trade deadline. Phillies got David Phelps. Milwaukee got Juan Geraldo, Brandon Ramey, and Israel Puello. Was a disaster in Philly. Was an absolute disaster in Philadelphia. 10 games, 7 2/3 innings to a 12.91 ERA. Stinky from David Phelps. He left in free agency and then re-signed with the Toronto Blue Jays. He missed a majority of the 2021 season with a right lat strain. Signed a minor league deal. Sorry, I thought a trade happened, but it was just something else. But signed a minor league deal with the Blue Jays in 2022. And between the small sample in 2021 and 2022, 76 games, 2 starts, 74 innings to a 2.55 ERA. And then, like I mentioned before, in January of this year, he announced his retirement from Major League Baseball, which is ironic because he pitched his best baseball in 2022. But listen, if you're not feeling it and if you're happy with what you got, then good for you. You went out on top, so congratulations on retirement to Mr. David Phelps. Now, this guy spent, like I said, 2/3 of an inning, or 2 2/3 of an inning with the Phillies, but still pitched. And that would be Fernando Salas. You remember the Fernando Salas game. He began his professional career with the Saltillo Serpasos. I sound very white saying that. He profiled with a fastball changeup curve, scouted by the Cardinals, and his contract was bought in 2017. He made his major league debut May 28th of 2010. 2010 to 2013 with St. Louis, 187 games, 192 1/3 innings to a 3.42 ERA, became their full-time closer in 2011. And then in the 2013 offseason, he was traded to the LA Angels. The Angels got Fernando Salas and David Freese. St. Louis got Peter Bourjos and Randall Grichuk. And Randall Grichuk was a guy who I wanted, who I had to take off my board because Randall Grichuk is currently back on the LA Angels along with CJ Cron, but that's neither here nor there. With the Angels, he spent 2014 to 2016 with them, 187 games, 178 2/3 to a 4.04 ERA. In August of 2016, he was traded to the Mets for Eric Manoah. Spent 2016 to 2017 with the Mets, 65 games, 62 1/3, 4.91 ERA. He was DFA'd in August of 2017. He then, soon after, signed a minor league deal with the LA Angels, 13 games, 13 2/3 to his 2.63 ERA. After in 2017, and then in 2018 signed a minor league contract with the Arizona Diamondbacks, 41 games, 40 innings, 4.45 ERA. He was DFA'd in July and signed a minor league deal with the Atlanta Braves, 6 games, 6 innings, 12 ERA in the minors. After the 2018 season, he signed with the Arcios de Monclova of the Mexican League. Great pronunciation. 27 games, 28 1/3 inning, 4.08 ERA. On June 7th, he signed a minor league contract with the Phillies, and then with the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs, 18 games, 23 and a third innings to a 4.24 ERA. And in the majors, 2 games, 2 2/3 innings to a 6.75 ERA. He then elected free agency after the 2019 season, signed back with the Arcios de Monclova in 2020. However, didn't have a season due to COVID in 2020. Traded to Almasas de Tabasco in 2021, and then spent 2021 to 2022 with that team. 53 games, 52 innings to a 2.94 ERA, and hasn't been heard from since. So that's Fernando Salas. And now a little trade deadline talk, because trade deadline's tomorrow. And I kind of want to talk about a couple guys that I think the Phillies might go out and get. So my first guy, the number one guy I want at the top of this, is Scott Barlow of the Kansas City Royals. He is the reliever, right? Did I pick out the right name? Hold the phone. I'm 99% sure that this would be embarrassing. Yeah, he is. Yeah. No. Yes. Scott Barlow of the Kansas City Royals has 2 years of control left. Having a really, really bad year, 5.35 ERA, fastball, slider, curve is what his arsenal is. The reason I want him is because he's a year removed from having a 2.16 ERA, and his stuff is just dirty when he's on, and he fits the need that the Phillies have right now. I feel like as another option for Rob Thompson, because I feel like Soto you can't really rely on, and I think if you let Barlow get a couple weeks with Caleb Cotham, I think he's going to return to that 2.16 ERA form. The only caveat, it probably would cost you one of Abel or McGarry because of the years of control left, but I also maybe not, because he's having such a down year. And the Kansas City Royals front office is like kind of stupid. So just a name to look out for in Scott Barlow. Another guy is Adam Duvall. However, not really sure if the Red Sox are going to be sellers because they're hot right now and they're actually in a playoff race. So maybe they won't be selling. He has an 871 OPS. He much needed thump. His whiff rate is down this year. His walk rate is down a little bit, and so is his K rate. But I just think Adam Duvall fits so much of what the Phillies need right now, and that's power. It's consistency in the outfield. But again, I don't know if if the Red Sox are going to be selling. So don't hold my breath. Now, I think the most realistic option, and I kind of convinced myself that this guy would be pretty good for the Phils, that is Michael Lorenzen of the Detroit Tigers. It wouldn't cost you that much. It's a rental, and he's having an okay year. 105 and 2/3 to a 3.58 ERA, so really not bad. However, you're pitching in Detroit, which is a pitcher's ballpark. You'd be transitioning to Citizens Bank Park. So what does that transition look like? And then at the same time, who do you replace Lorenzen with, unless you throw Lorenzen in the bullpen and have him be a long man, the guy who can do like 2-3 innings? Or if you want to manage the workload of Chris Sanchez, you could do a piggyback maybe with him. But he has a fastball, slider, changeup, cutter, and that cutter is interesting because that's exactly what Caleb Cotham looks for. That's the Cotham mold, is he wants guys to throw cutters more. So he does fit what the Phillies need, and it wouldn't cost you that much. And I just think it's the most realistic option, especially with the history with Dave Dombrowski and Detroit. So that's an option. And another name I've seen floated around is Teoscar Hernandez on the Seattle Mariners. He's a year removed from an 807 OPS. He provides league average defense. You're buying low on this guy to turn it around and flip it. So maybe if he's on a more competitive team, you can get something more out of him. But that's just another name to look for. So to wrap up, we have the series preview against Miami, which I am terrified of. You have Taijuan Walker against Edward Cabrera, Ranger, Wheeler, and Nola to close out. Miami has not announced their starters yet, so they're so going to win 3 of 4 in Miami because that's just what this team does. They lose against the terrible teams and then against the against teams that they should lose. They just find a way to win because that's just what the Phillies do. So I'm expecting a 3 out of 4 win from the Phillies in Miami because it's just what they do. That's going to wrap it up for me. Just a reminder, August 10th, 6:40, I will be doing the 1-year live stream extravaganza. I'm very much looking forward to that. We're going to be watching the Phillies against the Nationals. It's going to be great. It's going to be exciting. I'll be live streaming. We'll be talking to you guys. And I'm just very much looking forward to that. So mark that on your calendar. Stop in, say hi. Let's have a conversation about some baseball. That's going to do it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Feel free to like, subscribe, follow all those socials down below, and I will see you guys next time.